welcome back to episode 45 of the Talkoffamepod podcast. I'm Kylie, and today we have on the amazing upcoming singer-songwriter and actress, Desanka ILIC. Thanks so much for coming on, Desanka.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thanks so much for coming on. So you are a singer-songwriter and actress. What kind of made you want to start doing that?
So I grew up doing musical theater. And when I went to high school, I was studying opera, so vocal performance, which took me through college as well. And realized really that I didn't want to be on Broadway. So I started acting in film, TV commercial, and started doing music as well. So I could still exercise both of my passions, which is music and acting, but in separate ways. So I think that's really how all of that got started.
That's awesome. Like, did you always kind of know you wanted to be in some type of way in the industry, or you just like, oh, this kind of something that came out a little randomly?
Yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. I started doing theater when I was very, very young in elementary school and actually started working professionally as an actress in theater and on stage at a very young age. So it was started as a job, like even at a young age for me, but I loved to do it. And I just kept that up throughout my whole life, and it's just evolved over time to what I'm doing today.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, that's kind of how I was basically as a young girl. I'm a freshman in high school currently. And so like I always kind of knew like I wanted to be in entertainment like you did, but I never knew what exactly I wanted to be since I was always a very kind of shy kid and always like most actors in the industry, no matter who you are always mostly shy. Not everyone, but mostly. And so like I never knew what I wanted to be. So it's like I tried out like acting, singing, dancing, but never there was something that I never wanted to kind of pursue. I never seen the future. I never seen a future in front of it. And so, but it wasn't for quarantine that I was like, oh, why not just start this or whatever? It's a little hobby. Now I kind of treat it as like a little job. I do these like every single day. That I kind of treat it as like a full-time job, I'll say.
I love that. Yeah, when I was really young, I was definitely shy. I am an only child, so I didn't have any siblings. So I was definitely more on the shy side when I was super young. But when I started doing theater, when I was still in elementary school, that really socialized me, I feel like, to the world. And I became super social from that, which I'd say I'm really social today. So it worked.
Yeah, me too. So you got to play a role in a film called Devil's Dominant. What
Yeah.
was that experience playing that role?
Yeah, so that was so much fun. So a lot of people don't know that my favorite type of acting roles are horror film. And I love horror films. And I just love acting in horror films because it's so interesting. The process of character development is so interesting. A lot of what happens in horror films is very different from something I would do in real life. So I really love diving into a character that is so different from me, but may have some similarities. So that was really, really fun. And it's also just really fun seeing how a horror film is made from an actor's perspective with all of the special effects. We had someone literally catch on fire on that set, and we had like fire marshals and we had stunt performers, and it was all incredible to watch. Just I felt like I was an audience member just as much as I felt like I was in the movie. But Devil's Domain was definitely one of my dream roles, getting to be in a horror film, playing like a mean high school girl that got caught up in the crossfire of a lot of horrible things, which kind of ended in a tragedy for me. So I really love in acting roles to have that juxtaposition of, an unsuspecting mean girl high school student to a prominent horror film character. So I just think it's so fun to play on that on those different levels of extremes as an actress.
Yeah, for sure. Were you always kind of like a horror movie fan, or is it kind of that came out for like recent years?
Yeah, That's a great question. I think I really started becoming a horror movie fan in high school, I would say. I don't think anything necessarily triggered it. I think I was just working a lot as an actress, especially in 2016. And I've been auditioning for years and years and years. And I love acting and auditioning, but a lot of the times the roles are unfulfilling and, girl next door, mean girl, it's like, yes, I can play this, but it wasn't like lighting my soul on fire and inspiring me and fulfilling me. And, as much as I would have liked, I really like to get down and dirty and really do that hard work. And I think that's what's most rewarding about acting. And I think that that's what I really get in horror film characters is really being able to do that work, because usually a lot of times the characters are very complex. And, it's scenarios that the everyday person typically hasn't had to face. So I find that so interesting. And I definitely left that set exhausted, but also so fulfilled. But I think that's why I tend to lean towards horror film.
Yeah, for sure. Like I always kind of been like a little scared of horror movies, but as I got older, it kind of became like a little obsessed with horror films. And while my mom, I'll be watching horror movies with my mom, and she just get scared to death while I just sit there calm. And we'll watch like The Exorcist,
Yeah.
like Beetlejuice, like some other kind of bad horror films, or like a little easy kind of horror films, and she'll be freaked out and it's just sitting there and be like, okay, this is not that bad. Like I'm not scared to death. But like, how can you like sit through kind of horror films and like kind of not be scared of it? Like how do you kind of think it depends like if you're on set watching it or just kind of sitting watching television. So how do you kind of deal with that emotions while trying to watch it?
Yeah. So when I watch horror films now, I definitely, when I get so immersed into a horror film that I'm not thinking about anything, that's when I know it's a really good movie and was cast really amazing. And just the whole product is incredible. So I really like trying to immerse myself into it, but I definitely find myself like taking myself out of the movies because I know how they operate and come together and run. So a lot of the times when I watch horror movies, I put myself in the actor's shoes and like how they shot the scene, and my wheels are just turning in my brain. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wonder how this day on set was, like how the scene works, like how did this happen with this? And my brain starts getting very technical. So I think that's why a lot of the times I don't get scared. But I definitely do get scared when unexpected twists happen. I feel like I'm typically pretty good at predicting what's going to happen. But on some of the recent horror films I've watched, like the latest Scream, I did not predict what was going to happen. So I always love that. But really, I've gotten it down to a science for what really like is a jump scare for me, and it always comes back to the music and like the intensity of the music on the film. I feel like that plays such an important role in making a horror film a horror film. The suspense, the silence, the not knowing what's going to happen next. That's what really gets to me if I get scared at a horror film.
Yeah, so you recently came out with a song called Feels Like Fire. What kind of inspired you to write that song?
Yeah, so I feel like there's not something specific that inspires me to write music, but more so I pull from my own life and my friends and what's happening around me. So I pull inspiration from a lot of different things and make it into one product. So I can't pinpoint exactly, but really it's a lot of my music is about young love and like doing what's best for yourself and getting out of toxic relationships, whether it's an intimate relationship or a friendship, and just the trials and tribulations of being a young adult or a teenager, because that's when I really started writing music, and just hoping that my music can be relatable to as many people as possible, so everyone can kind of interpret it in a way that's helpful for them and make sense for them, just to listen to it and have fun.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have like a favorite kind of song that you wrote that you may or may not release that kind of meant the most to you, like in your heart, or it's kind of meant to you personally?
Yeah, so I'm working on some songs right now. I'm sitting on a pile of a few singles that I'm planning to release this year, and have some planned for next year as well. So really excited about those. I'd probably say one of my favorite songs is in there, but I think a project that was so special to me was 2 Christmases ago. So Christmas of 2020, when COVID hit and we were in quarantine. My best friend and her sister and I recorded a little Christmas EP because we were stuck at home, and that was our little quarantine circle. And my best friend is on Broadway, and so she was home from that, since she wasn't performing. So we thought, let's make a few Christmas songs together since we love Christmas. That would be so much fun. So we had a 2-song EP. One of the songs was like a COVID Christmas kind of parody song, but super fun, a little pop punk. And the other song also derived from more of like a fun, like upbeat, like pop punk genre, but also had some choral elements, since we were all classically trained singers and have sung in choir for years together. So we were able to add that little classic Christmas flair to the song too. But that EP is just like so fun to have, and listen to every Christmas. And it's just cool because we're so close and we got to make that together. My boyfriend got to play drums on that. Our other friend did a lot of the other production, and my dad even had a hand in mixing and mastering. So it was a big like family friend project, and it was just so amazing to see something so beautiful come out of it, and so happy and uplifting and inspiring for Christmas and for the holidays, since COVID was not that. So I thought it was really fun, and it's something cool to have now. It's really special.
Oh, that's awesome. Like, next couple of years, who's someone that you hope to make music with? Like anyone in the industry or just anyone?
That's a great question. I really surprisingly love I love genres that are more like electronic pop and EDM style music, but I also really love pop punk style music, just because the energy is so addicting and uplifting and amazing. So I've played around with that before. I've done some EDM collabs in music prior, and I've also done, I had some pop punk inspiration in my Christmas songs, and some of my producers are primarily working the pop punk genre. So maybe just doing more of that. I don't know specifically like who I would love to collaborate with, but I think I would love to play with those genres a little bit more, because right now I'm just very like pop forward, which I love. Pop just comes so natural to me, but I'd love to play around with those other genres and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anyone that you look up to as a singer, songwriter, and actress, or just kind of in general? Do you have anyone that you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, several people come to mind. Singer-songwriter wise, I love Julia Michaels.
Oh,
Love Len and Stella. I think they are both absolutely genius writers, and I think their vocals are insane. What I love about their voices specifically so much is that they're so unique to them. When you hear a Julia Michaels song or a Len and Stella song, it's them.
yeah.
Their vocal tone is stunning, and I just love that nobody can recreate how they sound. And I think that's so important in being an artist. I also really love Brendan Urie from Panic at the Disco. I just think he's a phenomenal singer. Same with him. He's a very distinct, incredible voice. And I love Tori Kelly as well. I think she really falls
I was
into
actually going to bring her up too, actually. I was going to bring her up. And Tori Kelly is someone that's one of the best kind of upcoming artists coming up. And she's amazing. I listen to her daily. I was actually listening to her before we even started talking.
oh my gosh, I love that. I've been listening to her for years. She's she's really incredible. I think she's super underrated.
Yeah.
I think she should be up there with Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Being I think she should be one of the greatest pop stars of our time. But
Yeah.
acting wise, I really love Judy Garland. Very classic. Dorothy, Wizard of Oz. I think that's what really made me fall in love with acting. I felt like I could identify with her a lot, but I just think she's a brilliant actress, and just knowing everything that she's been through on and off set and in her young adult life. She is such a professional and just incredible. I also really love Anne Hathaway and all of her
Oh,
work.
me too. She's amazing. Do you have like a favorite Anne Hathaway movie? Because I'm really obsessed with Anne Hathaway.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. The first one that comes to mind is Devil Wears Prada and The Princess Diaries, of course.
Of course.
She, in the beginning of her career, she did a movie called Havoc, I think it was called, and it was one of her, I think, debut, on-screen moments, and it was super raunchy, and she was in a role that we've never seen her in before.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, don't really know that side to her, that she's such a dynamic actress, because she tends to get cast in the same type of role time and time again, a role who, like a girl who's like a little nerdy or like disheveled, and then she gets a cool opportunity and then becomes this like beautiful person in power. I feel like that's kind of her typical storyline. But she plays that so incredibly. But I really loved seeing her in those raunchier roles that literally are like against the grain and completely opposite to that. So I just think she's incredible, and she's not given enough credit for how dynamic of an actress she is. And I hope that she'll receive more opportunities that let her be a little bit more edgy.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen her in Les Miserables? Have you seen her in that role?
Yes.
That movie is amazing. I think that's one of her best roles she's ever done. Like that movie is really one of the best kind of musicals type of thing out there.
Yeah.
Like I think that was really one of her best roles ever.
Yeah, she can do it all.
Yeah, really, she really can. So as her in the new year, what are your goals to hope to achieve in 2022?
Yeah, I love that question because I never have an answer. I don't like to set like specific goals for myself. Of course, I'll have short-term goals for myself, or I actually keep a manifestation page in my notes on my phone, just of like immediate things that I want to happen in my life. But I don't like to look at them as goals, because I don't want them to be unattainable or unachievable. Because something that I may really want now just may not be in my path, and something better may come along for me that makes more sense. So I don't like to give myself an exact thing. But I just keep working hard as I can, and making sure that I'm passionate about what I'm doing every single day. And really my saying is, whatever is meant to happen will happen, as long as I put in the work and just keep grinding at what I love to do. I know something amazing will come of it, and it has. And so I'm just excited to see where this year takes me.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. So the final question is, one of your films you were part of won Best Original Score at London Independent Film Awards. What was your reaction to being kind of part of like the film awards?
Yeah, so that's always really exciting when your work gets recognized by like a distinguished group of people or organization. I feel like as an actress and someone who's kind of on the outside of the film festival circuit and awards, I don't really hear what's being submitted or anything like that. So I feel like every time an award happens, or a nomination, it's always a big surprise, which I love because it's so much fun. So yeah, I mean, it's just so exciting. Everyone on all the films I've worked on, at least, have been incredible and have worked so hard, and everyone deserves to be recognized for their work. So I just think it's cool.
Absolutely. Like, do you have anyone that you kind of worked with that kind of meant the most to you, or just kind of stuck out to you the most?
That's a great question. I think there are so many people that I could name. You know, actors who've been in the industry, you know, much longer than me and who are seasoned, and just watching them work, and just being in awe of kind of their process, which is so cool because everyone's process is so different.
Yeah.
So I love just kind of looking up to people in the industry who are, you know, seasoned and just watching their process and seeing how they work. I always just think that's so fascinating. But I'd say definitely my acting coach has been such a huge mentor for me. He always is giving me new perspectives and just checking me on my process, and delivery, and, you know, all of the above. So he's been a big mentor for me as well.
Well, I love that. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so fun to talk to you. You're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm so happy to have you on. And let's speak soon for sure. Thanks so much.
Thank you. You're amazing. And I'm so excited that we got to do this.
Me too. Thank you so much.